Welcome to the deep dive. We've got some really interesting material today. It's all about Realtor Anil Aggarwal's take on Brianna Wiest's book, The Mountain Is You.
Right, and how it shaped his view, particularly in his field.
Exactly. So our goal here is to kind of unpack that connection for you. Why did this book hit home for someone dealing with, the pressures of real estate?
And what lessons can we all maybe pull from it, whether we're in the market for a house or just life?
Precisely. So Aggarwal, he's a realtor, runs a brokerage, invests, calls himself a lifelong student of growth. Clearly, something in Wiest's book really clicked.
Yeah, and what seems to have struck him most forcefully is this central idea that the biggest things stopping us, they aren't usually out there.
They're internal.
They're internal. Our mindset, our patterns, those hidden fears we don't always acknowledge, that's what we're digging into.
Okay, let's get right into it then. Because Aggarwal works in a field, real estate, where you are constantly facing external stuff. Market changes, tough clients, fierce competition.
Absolutely, it's very outward facing.
So for someone in that environment to get so much from a book about the internal landscape, well, that says something, doesn't it?
It really does. He mentions it wasn't just a professional tweak for him, it was personal, a genuine shift.
That's key, I think. If you're constantly swimming against the tide of market forces, realizing that internal stability might be more crucial than controlling every external thing.
That's a game changer,
Yeah.
right? It shifts your focus from, say, interest rates you can't control to your own reaction, your mindset, which you can work on.
And he really zeroed in on that core message. Our own minds, our habits, our fears, maybe things we're not even fully aware of, those are often the real anchors, more so than the obvious external problems. It makes you think, how often do we blame circumstances?
We do, don't we? It's easier sometimes to point fingers outside. But Aggarwal's experience here is a strong nudge towards introspection.
Asking, okay, what's my part in this? What story am I telling myself here?
Exactly. What internal narratives are running the show?
And this wasn't just a light bulb moment he kept to himself. He felt he needed to share it. That's why he's putting together a podcast about it.
Yeah, the material suggests his drive is to help others who feel stuck. Other realtors, sure, but also buyers, sellers. Really anyone feeling overwhelmed.
Whether it's buying a first home or just facing any big life hurdle.
It points to that idea of shared learning. You know, when something genuinely clicks for you, you often want to pass it on.
It suggests personal growth isn't just for you. It can ripple outwards.
Definitely.
Okay, so Wise book talks about identifying your mountain. Aggarwal applies this to real estate. He points to the obvious stuff first, right? Like low inventory, tricky clients, maybe that agent who always seems one step ahead.
Sure, the tangible challenges. Every job has them. Those things that feel like the main roadblocks.
But then he pivots. He says the real mountain, the one needing the climb, is usually inside.
Here we go.
He mentions self-doubt, that voice saying you can't, or you're not enough, or fear of rejection maybe stopping you from making that call or putting in that offer.
Or even just inconsistency, maybe driven by some underlying anxiety you haven't quite pinned down.
For someone listening, maybe thinking about a career switch, that internal mountain could easily be, I don't know, fear of failure, imposter syndrome.
Oh, absolutely. Those internal barriers are incredibly potent. They can operate just below the surface.
And undermine you without you even realizing it sometimes.
Exactly. They can stop you taking the very steps you need to take.
And it sounds like reading The Mountain Is You really helped Aggarwal put a name to these things in his own life and career. It gave him a framework.
Which is so crucial, isn't it? Naming the struggle. It takes it from this vague, unsettling feeling to something concrete you can start to work with.
Like turning the light on, now you can actually see what you're dealing with.
Spot on.
So, okay, he sees it for himself, for other professionals, but he also recommends this book to his clients. People buying or selling homes. Why?
That's a really interesting layer, because he gets that buying or selling isn't just numbers on a page. It's deeply emotional.
Oh, massively. It's tied to huge life changes, hopes, fears.
It's where life happens. And for most people, it is the biggest financial step they take. The emotional weight is immense.
You've got hopes for the future, maybe worries about the mortgage, the commitment.
Precisely. And because the stakes feel so high, emotionally, the whole process can bring those internal mountains right to the surface for clients.
Like what specifically?
Well, Aggarwal mentions things like control issues, feeling adrift in a market you can't predict. Financial fears, obviously. But also deeper stuff, like questions about self-worth maybe popping up if an offer gets rejected or the search gets tough.
Yeah, I can see that. Losing out on a couple of houses could easily make someone start thinking, Is it me? Am I doing something wrong? Will I ever find a place?
And Aggarwal's point is, if clients can build up their internal resilience, their mindset, they're just better equipped for those ups and downs.
So it's not just about finding the right house, but about being mentally ready for the journey.
Exactly. He feels that a prepared mindset is key to actually feeling at home wherever you land.
Yeah.
If those internal anxieties are still running wild, even the dream house might not feel right.
So the book is a tool to help clients build that inner readiness for the whole roller coaster ride. It's more than just market reports.
It's about equipping them internally,
Yeah.
fostering a sense of security that doesn't just depend on getting the perfect outcome. Makes sense.
Okay, and the material also mentioned Aggarwal's personal action after reading this. It wasn't just intellectual agreement.
No, and that really says a lot about the impact, doesn't it? It moved him to do something significant.
Which was?
He decided to invest his own resources, time and money, into creating a podcast focused specifically on these lessons from the book.
Wow, okay. That's a serious commitment.
It really shows his conviction, I think. He's creating this platform to explore these ideas and, well, make them accessible.
And the podcast itself, how is he framing it?
As a resource, really.
Yeah.
To help listeners spot their own patterns of self-sabotage. You know, those ways we sometimes unconsciously shoot ourselves in the foot.
Oh, yeah. We all do that, right? Knowing you should do something, but finding endless reasons not to.
Totally. Or having a goal, but somehow never quite getting started. Self-sabotage has many faces.
So his podcast aims to help people see those patterns.
And then begin moving towards self-mastery, taking back control from those internal blocks.
Yeah.
And he sees this as relevant across the board.
For whom specifically?
First-time buyers feeling swamped, people early in their careers hitting walls, even seasoned investors may be feeling stuck.
It's a broad message then, rooted in real estate insights, but applicable much wider.
Absolutely, because understanding your internal world, tackling those self-limiting beliefs, that's universal if you want to achieve anything meaningful, really.
Towards the end of the material, Aggarwal circles back hard to that core theme. He quotes it, right? The mountain isn't in front of you, it's inside you.
Such a concise, powerful summary.
Yeah, it really sticks.
And importantly, he doesn't leave you there feeling doomed. He immediately follows up by saying, we do have the ability to climb these internal mountains.
So it's empowering, not just diagnostic.
Exactly. It's a message of agency.
Hmm.
And he makes it more real by talking about his own ongoing climb as a dad, a business owner, a realtor.
That vulnerability helps, doesn't it? Makes it feel less like advice from on high.
It does. It shows it's a continuous process, not a destination you just arrive at. Even successful people are still doing this internal work.
And he invites listeners to join in, right? To start their own journey of figuring out their internal obstacles.
Yeah, an invitation to take ownership, not telling you what your mountain is, but encouraging you to look for it.
It's supportive, and he does give a nod back to the source material.
He explicitly recommends reading The Mountain Is You, which shows respect for Wiest's original work.
Definitely.
But he also positions his upcoming podcast as maybe a more accessible starting point for people short on time, promising to break the ideas down practically.
Which is helpful. Sometimes these concepts can feel a bit abstract.
Right. And he finishes with that great line, let's climb together.
I like that. It emphasizes community, shared struggle, shared growth. We're not alone in this.
That sense of doing it together, even if it's just listening to a podcast, can be really motivating.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive on Anil Aggarwal's perspective, the big takeaway seems clear. When you hit challenges, yes, look at the external factors, but don't stop there.
Right. Especially in high-stakes situations like real estate, look inward. What's going on with your mindset, your internal landscape?
But it's bigger than just property. It's a lesson for, well, pretty much anything you're trying to achieve. Personal growth, professional goals.
Absolutely. Aggarwal applies it to real estate. But the core idea mindset, overcoming self-sabotage, facing internal blocks, that's relevant for everyone everywhere.
Which leads us nicely to our final thought for you, the listener. Thinking about Aggarwal navigating the pressures of real estate, what personal mountain might you be overlooking right now?
What internal barrier, maybe one you haven't really acknowledged yet, could be holding you back from making real progress in your job, your relationships, your personal goals, whatever field you're in?
It's definitely worth some honest reflection, isn't it? Are there
Yeah.
patterns you see? Doubts? Fears? Procrastination?
Could those be your mountains? The ones waiting for you to start the climb?
Maybe just take a moment after this to consider those internal obstacles we talked about. How might they be showing up for you? And maybe, what's one tiny step you could take?
And if this chat resonated, definitely consider checking out Brianna Wiest's book, The Mountain Is You, or keep an ear out for Anil Aggarwal's podcast series for his practical take on it all.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.